when you write a jazz piece, you've got to take into consideration that people are going to kind of do what they want to do with it. And you actually want that as a composer. You don't want it to be the same every single time. Maybe different instruments play, different setups. Maybe it's a quartet, but you add something. None of this is unusual for a person who writes in this kind of medium. But to hear somebody play, I mean, I used to just struggle with this piano part. I mean, it's I don't know what I was thinking. Why would I write anything that's that hard to play? But Bob, you just did an incredible job, and not to diminish your contribution, Linda, but I mean, that's a passel of notes to try to get organized and get right every time. So my hat's off to you, Bob.
Thank you so much. Just a side note is the whole collection of Jazz Impressions of Cleveland, they transported me. I love them. They're so, yeah, they put, I listen to that over and over. It's just, they're beautiful. Anyway, yeah.
Yeah,
are those on a sellable CD or no?
Well, no, I have CD copies. I have at least 100 of them. If let me know if somebody wants one. I have one of my. I play at one of the local temples, and one of the guys that's a member there is a jazz freak, and this is the only CD he has in his car, and he never takes it out.
Yeah.
Every time he's in his car, he's just listening to Jazz Impressions of Cleveland.
And you can, because they're so unique. They're awesome. Yeah. Yes.
Glad that you enjoyed it. So, but the background of the piece is what Linda had said. Well, there are two things here. The piece is dedicated to Dave Brubeck, the jazz composer, pianist, who had the Dave Brubeck Quartet in the 60s with Paul Desmond and so forth. And Brubeck and I corresponded through my entire 20s, 30s, and 40s till he passed away. I arranged a lot of his music for various ensembles, et cetera, and I had a lot of really great conversations with him over the years. And the piece that inspired me mostly to do this was that he wrote music for a television show called Mr. Broadway in the 1960s, 1964. It only ran for one season. Starred Craig Stevens, who was a public relations guy who always ended up being sort of a private eye. And he had a police contact, and he'd solve these murders and so forth. But he himself was one of the people that they were considering to play James Bond. I mean, he was sort of a Hulk and a beautiful guy and athletic and all that, but he didn't get the part, of course. It only ran for one season, but it had unbelievable guest stars: Liza Minnelli, Jason Robards, Tuesday Weld, Jill St. John. I mean, it was just a star-studded, cameos, one after another. And Dave Brubeck wrote the music for the television program. It only ran for one season, mostly because it was up against Lawrence Welk. And nobody could compete with the second half of Lawrence Welk. So it ran for one season, but it was amazing music. And he put out a CD called Jazz Impressions of New York, which was music from the television program, which they put into a format for, a CD and full-length versions of these little snippets that they did. So I thought, and I love suites. I have loved suites my whole life. I mean, there's the Nutcracker Suite. I mean, there's an endless supply of amazing pieces. Oscar Peterson, my other favorite guy, wrote a suite about the pieces from Canada. He's Canadian, and there's a suite of pieces about his travels across Canada. And of course, Claude Bowling's suite for flute and jazz piano was really popular for a while. I just love the idea of a series of pieces that are programmatically connected in some way, whether they're from a ballet as in Tchaikovsky, or they're just from a TV program, etc. But I love the suite format because it allows a lot of diversity, since it's got a program attached. You can switch gears and nobody cares. It's not like a symphony where, why is that the second movement of this piece? I mean, there's got to be a reason. But in this case, you could just shift to another setting in Cleveland and so forth. I mean, it's fun. So the lake effect, of course, is something we have here in Northeast Ohio, and it's just this perpetual it never stops. It just never stops. Just like as you learn playing this guitar version of it, it just never stops. I mean, you just constantly at it. But I tried to make it as beautiful as possible. I mean, there's influence of Debussy in here. There's influences of Copland. There's all kinds of little fragments of pieces of my mind that came out during all of this. So, and your version of it is just stunning. I mean, I really, really enjoy it. So, but that was the origin of this whole collection of pieces. It was my homage to Dave Brubeck for a very influential piece to me as a younger person.